Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel War Zone. Today we're diving deep into a story that sounds like it came straight out of a political thriller, the sudden shift in the power dynamics inside Alexander Lukashenko's Belarus, where the army appears to be rebelling against the dictator who has ruled for decades. We're going to break it down piece by piece, the exterior what the world sees, the interior what's happening behind the scenes, the performance how the forces are acting, the safety features what safeguards exist or don't, the unique selling points. Yes, this is a story with weird features. Like any unique scenario, the cost/price what this change potentially costs to Belarus, to Lukashenko, to regional stability, and finally we'll wrap it all up with a conclusion about what this might mean going forward. So let's get into it. From the outside, the scenario is dramatic. Lukashenko, who has often been labeled Europe's last dictator, appears to be losing his grip. Reports signal that his long-term rule could be ending, or at least entering its most fragile phase. The exterior view shows large protests, signs of opposition strength, and credible reports that the army or major elements of the security forces are refusing to play along with his directives. That creates a powerful visual. Tanks, troops, maybe refusing orders, officers openly signaling they won't do X or Y. The world is watching. Belarus has become a diplomatic and strategic flashpoint, particularly given its closeness to Russia and its role in regional geopolitics. From outside, you see the strain between the regime and its traditional instruments of control. You see signs of division, you see protests, you see possible defections. The exterior story grabs attention because it combines a rare moment of regime instability with the heightened stakes of military involvement. But if we move from the exterior to the interior, what's really happening behind closed doors inside Belarus, we get a much more nuanced picture. Internally, Lukashenko has built a system of patronage, of strong security forces, and of tight control over vote results, state media, and the opposition. The interior leaves suggest that some in the military or security apparatus have grown weary of his rule. Perhaps they see the writing on the wall, perhaps they fear being left exposed, perhaps they want to shift their allegiance before things collapse. Meanwhile, the regime may be trying to resecure loyalty by offering promotions or purges, or appealing to Russian support. The interior is tense. Hidden negotiations, back-channel deals, possibility of exile, possibility of a deal being struck. It's short but powerful. The key players are repositioning, alliances are shifting, and the interior stage is the reservoir of decisions that will determine whether this ends in a coup, a negotiated exit, a gradual transition, or a messy collapse. Performance-wise, how are the forces acting? The performance here refers to the behavior of the army, the regime, the opposition forces, and how credible the rebellion is. From what we can tell, performance is mixed but impressive in some aspects. Elements of the army reportedly refusing orders, or at least showing signs of disunity, which is a hallmark of potential regime collapse. For example, articles mention Lukashenko signaling that he may not seek another term amid these pressures. The performance of the opposition has also been stronger than in previous years, partly because earlier crackdowns and protests have matured into something more resilient. The performance of the regime, on the other hand, shows strain. Previously monolithic security apparatus is showing its cracks, maybe quietly negotiating with Moscow or other allies. The public performance, protests, social media leaks, defiant speeches, perhaps army units parked in unusual positions, or commanders publicly refusing to go along. That performance sends a signal that this is more than just noise, this could be real change. Now let's talk about safety features. In this context, safety features means the mechanisms and safeguards that either prevent or mitigate catastrophic outcomes, i.e., avoiding full-blown civil war, ensuring a peaceful transition rather than lethal chaos, protecting civilians, limiting external intervention. Belarus does have some safety features. Its strong state security infrastructures make outright chaotic collapse less likely. The regime has shown it can suppress dissent historically. Internationally, There are frameworks, sanctions, and diplomatic pressure that act as restraining forces. But many of the usual safety features are missing or weak. Independent judiciary is weak. Opposition leaders are jailed or exiled. Transparency is low, so accountability is limited. The risk of a crackdown, a hardline regime response, or Russian intervention remains high. So while there are nominal safety features, the absence of robust civil institutions means the margin for error is slim. The question remains, will the transition be safe, managed, or will it spin into violence? Next, unique selling points. If we treat this as a story to sell, to global audiences, and indeed to policy makers, analysts, media, what sets it apart? What makes this moment unique? First, the fact that the army might be turning against a long, entrenched dictator is rare in modern Europe/CS context. That alone gives the story a huge global hook. Second, the geopolitical dimension. Belarus as a key ally of Russia bordering Ukraine, a possible pivot point in the Russia-West standoff. That adds strategic depth. Third, the timing. After decades of Lukashenko's rule, many expected him to continue indefinitely, yet signs suggest his endgame might be beginning. Fourth, the image of the last dictator of Europe, finally being challenged. That's potent framing. Fifth, the human interest and risk. What happens to civilians, to Belarus's future, to the region? So the unique selling points are army involvement, geopolitical stakes, dramatic leader, change moment, historical inflection point, high human and strategic risk. When it comes to cost or price, we need to look at what's being paid or will be paid by various actors. For Belarus as a country, the price might include economic disruption, sanctions, loss of investor confidence, possible internal violence or crackdown, damage to civil society. For Lukashenko himself, the price is his power, possibly his freedom, his legacy, maybe exile or legal consequences. For the region Russia, Europe, Ukraine, the price is instability, possible migration flows, security uncertainties, recalibration of alliances. For ordinary Belarusians, the price is perhaps freedom vs. repression, risk of violence, unclear future. So when we talk about price, it's not in dollars but in the human, political, strategic currency. The question, what will change cost? Will Belarus face years of instability? Will Russia intervene? Will the transition be smooth or bloody? That's the real price. Finally, the conclusion. The moment we're witnessing may indeed mark the beginning of the end for Lukashenko's long rule. The involvement or potential involvement of the army significantly raises the odds of genuine change. However, the outcome is far from certain. There are too many variables, too many players with conflicting interests. The regime's capacity for repression remains. Russian backing could tip the balance. The opposition may still be fragmented, and the safety features are weak. So what could happen? One scenario, a negotiated exit or transition where Lukashenko steps aside or is sidelined, army and opposition agree on new leadership, Belarus opens to reforms. Another, the regime tightens control, crushes dissent, but the rebellion is delayed, not ended. A third, a messy collapse with violence, external intervention, Ukraine-style conflict. My assessment, the shot across the bow has been fired. Belarusians are watching, the world is watching, but whether the regime falls or just transforms remains to be seen. For now, this is a turning point, but not necessarily the end. Stay tuned, because probably we'll see more seismic shifts ahead. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss our next Warzone Deep Dive. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.